T-minus 3, 2, 1, 0.
Hello, friends. Welcome back to the Launch Sequence Podcast. Oh boy. DefenseCon is over. Ships have been sold. I have brought Execute, Mr. Inforunner Shipman, in here so that we could talk about just what happened with all these ship sales. I don't even know if I can do like a real proper intro to this. People are a little unhappy with the game right now, and I don't want to spend this whole podcast, complaining and stuff. But there is a very real feeling that people are having that CIG is getting a little bit too deep into the ship sale sauce. The Odin was like kind of a surprise to people the way it happened. The Ironclad, the way it released, it was pretty rough. The buybacks situation in April kind of also, I think, complicates that with CCUs and the way people are trying to get ships on deals. So I wanted to talk today about just what's going on with these ship sales, with CIG's formatting of these events, and like, how do we think that this is going to go long term? Are they just going to sell ships forever? Is this how it's going to be post 1.0? What's the thought process there? So thank you for joining me for that. Do you want to explain to people maybe why you're the best person to talk to about this from a CCU and like ship purchase standpoint?
Jeez, I don't know if I am the best person anymore. I've been doing CCUs and talking about ships since the very beginning. I've been on the project since Kickstarter. I just ships is my main jam basically. We were kind of essentially teaching people how to get ships for cheap for a really, really long time. I even get reached out to people at CIG and go, "You saved me thousands." So stuff like that. So that's probably why they've corrected it. And I'd have to say in the last 2 years, it's really dropped back now. It's a lot harder to do what we used to do. You can kind of still sit there and fill them in, but I don't do guides anymore. There's no point doing guides because I used to be able to I'd do a sale and I'd go get a Polaris for $450 today, and you can't do that anymore. They have just nerfed them all in the butt. So the good times are behind us. Let's put it that way. But yeah, I just know a lot about ships, so I obviously waffle a bit too much. But yeah.
What would you say was like people's main reason for doing CCUs? Do you think that was it always about saving, or was there an aspect of fun to it?
I think it's people, two-part passion, and they love the game, and they obviously just didn't have the money. I know where I came from. So at the time when Star Citizen came out, I just had finished a kind of job, and I basically was unemployed, and I just didn't have the money. Like, especially when you're going from Australian dollars to American dollars, it was really, really expensive. And to get, I remember I realized if I could really penny pinch for a couple of months, I'd be able to get these. I remember the ship was a Reclaimer, and I think it was a Starfarer, and I had to save like, I basically had to eat rice and noodles for 2 months, which is what I did.
Were they Benny's, or were they no, not Benny's? What's the freaking noodle place?
There were Indonesian noodles called Magorin here in Australia. So for those people that know them, and then you got like Maggi noodles and stuff like that. So
what are the Star Citizen noodles? Why can't I remember that?
Noodles. No,
Big Benny. Yeah. Man. Right, because Benny Hedge. Yes. Sorry. Keep going.
So that's right. So that's what I did, and that's how I kind of got my first couple of ships, and then later on that year they dropped the Banner Merchantman, so I melted my Starfarer and brought my Banner Merchantman on the one day it was only ever going to be ever available. They lied to me, and so I got that, and then I kind of went back and and then just kept going from there. So over 10 years, you're able to, kind of save and compared to a lot of people seem to think I've got like hundreds of ships. I haven't even spent $10,000, right? And you, if you think about people that go really deep into the ships, I haven't gone as deep as a lot of other people have.
Yeah.
Right? I know 10,000 is a lot, right? I know that's a lot, But if you look at other games that I followed, like League of Legends and stuff like that, and World of Warcraft, if you actually look at the percentage of money you spend, it's actually a lot higher, believe it or not, based on the time.
How do you feel about all the ships you've gotten so far? Like looking back on them, do you wish you hadn't?
No, because there's always a way to switch or change or modify, and you just kind of plan, right? And that'll kind of come a bit into the conversations today, I'm sure. You know, you plan for something, and then they release another ship that just completely supersedes the ship that you
Yeah.
had
Yeah.
planned for, which is a bit hard. But yeah, anyway.
Interesting to think that, like, if they hadn't included that in this whole ordeal, the ship melting and the buybacks and the CCUs and all that stuff, I mean, that's crucial, right? That how much do you think you wouldn't have gotten if that kind of stuff, if you just bought a ship and then it was yours and you had to stick with it?
I think eventually they would have seen the writing on the wall, and people wouldn't have brought stuff.
Yeah.
Because if you bring out ship A and then they instantly bring out ship B 2-3 years later, and think about all the ships that we have, right? You can do that with so many ships. Like, they bring out the Freelancer and oh wow, and then they bring out the Colors, oh wow, and then they bring out the Zeus, and you're jumping backwards and forwards going, oh, which one's the new shiny?
Right.
So yeah, I think it wouldn't have this upgradability is just, it's almost like microtransactions in a way. You just, I'll just spend $10 and I'll shift my ship from here to there.
Yeah.
Rather than yeah.
Yeah. It's almost like you just bought a ship for $5 instead of for $55.
And you just incrementally over time, before you know it, you're at a Polaris. Oops.
Definitely a level of psychology to it. That specific way that they've done that. So why don't we just jump straight into then what they changed with buybacks earlier this year that caused some trouble, and we'll go from there as to like how things are maybe starting to get a little stretched.
So basically, it seems to be a part of the planning for Squadron 42. They essentially made it so you couldn't buy back any package that contained Squadron 42. And there were a lot. I know people that have been caught out where they did not have it. They deliberately melted off their Squadron 42 packages because they were going to get them later. And so there are now people that don't have a Squadron 42 pack because they can't buy it back. And I've run into multiple people like that because it was just a way to keep their credit kind of fluid and they could, buy different things.
Yeah.
But yeah, that it would have been nice to have a bit of a heads up. But by the same token, if they'd given a heads up, all the people on the grey market would have brought them up. And that's what they didn't want.
Yeah, that was rough. So it's kind of just like a problem that is literally wrought from the buybacks even existing.
Yeah.
But this isn't the first time, right? Over the years, they've done things with like the $0 buybacks and stuff like that.
Yep.
What was all that about?
They always tell us they're going to do them, but they don't tend, like, they just say this is eventually what's going to happen, but they don't give us the warnings anymore because of the grey market, right?
Right.
So the original $0 CCU thing was, you could, if I had two ships that cost the same price, so let's take two ships right now that cost the same price. So we've got an Ironclad at Assault at $650. And we've got the Banner Merchantman at $650. You would be able to go into the store and you would be able to, just for nothing, pick up a CCU that will allow you to switch between the two. So essentially, you could pick up 20 of these and just constantly swap between the two whenever you wanted. So essentially, it was like having one ship or two ships for the price of one.
Right. That's too nice.
Yeah. And so that's why they got rid of it, because people just had thousands of these in their buyback. It flooded the servers. It was costing them heaps in server costs and data costs because people were just stockpiling the shit. Well, it costs nothing to buy it, so people just buy unlimited amounts.
Yeah.
And there are other CCUs that have come out across the years that, the Banner Mitchum is a really good example, actually. So it originally was $250. It now costs $650. So if you're lucky enough to have, say, a Staff or a Gemini that was $340 to a Banner Merchantman CCU from back then that only cost $10, well, that's now increased in value. because essentially you've got almost $400 extra value on that CCU for nothing.
Yeah. It's God. It's like kind of
I've got
investing.
2 of them, by the way. I've got 2 of them, by the way. But yeah,
It's like CIG made the first NFTs.
Yeah, and so you can play some insane tricks. Like I got the record got beaten by a CIG employee. Actually, they told me recently what they was. I won't say who, but my record was 13%. They got it down to 12.5%, as in the total worth of the ship. So I got my Polaris for $110 instead of $975.
See that right there. Do you feel like there's some competition side to this? Like people are in Discord comparing and like trying to. Yeah,
the people that are into it are really into it, right? Like it's like I can do better than you type of thing.
It's literally the game
we also
within the game.
We also know the person that had it before that. They got a Carrack for $95, and they had it at, I think theirs was 15%. So I beat it by 2%, and then another guy beat me by 0.5%. But it's getting to that apex where we're not really going to go much lower than that. And now CCU chaining and all that is starting to die. And it's not dying. It's just you can't get any new ones easily. And they, the best CCUs back in the day were 30% off. Now they're like 20% off.
And
they've really dialed back the savings.
When you're naming these percentages off, you're just naming the amount somebody saves by buying certain ships to get to the same price as a normal ship.
It's the percentage of the total price is the record, right? That's the easiest way to do it, because then it's universal. It doesn't matter which ship you buy. It turns out what's the biggest saving you can get in percentage points.
And what does CCU stand for?
Cross chassis upgrade, but they no longer call it that. They just call them upgrades, like they should have done from the beginning.
Right.
The lore team named a lot of things to try and be clever, and I think it just kind of made things really so purposely difficult. Because the first question, you would have done this yourself, mate. What the hell is a CCU? What the hell are you talking about?
Yeah.
Right? Like it.
Dude, I've been following this for so long. I can ask you a staged question like, what is a CCU? And I know what it stands for, but I still don't get this whole thing, man.
For those that don't know, I used to bring Space Tomato along every year for the CCU guide at AI or IAE. And then every year he'd forgotten what I taught him the previous year. And this went on for years. But like it's needlessly convoluted. It didn't need to be that way. But I think when you really look at it, now you see what has happened. They never meant to be it that way. They made it by accident.
Okay, but
that's why they closed it down.
But the whole system itself was definitely made on purpose to get people to do these kinds of small upgrades, no?
The small upgrades, but they didn't have the thought process to think that we would chain them together.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Right? and that whole term of CCU chaining comes from me and Algrid. Like, we're the ones that came up with that. And then it went out, and now it's a term used everywhere, right?
So,
but, yeah.
Part of this that we still kind of see live on, this is for folks who maybe are more new to Star Citizen, getting a little bit of the vernacular in today, but LTI is a big part of this because people want to get their LTI on a ship that they can then CCU up to something that's better. So is there, we've seen LTI has kind of been sort of explained away with crafting and registration and all that kind of stuff. Now we hear that CCUs are not being as valuable or as common. Is CIG putting on like an active crunch to kill off some of the ways that people are gaming the system, or is this just kind of natural in your opinion?
I think it is a little bit to kill off the system. I think they've slowly realized what they've done. I remember an interview we did with Sandy, and we told them about the 95. We told her about the $95 Carrack, and she was like, "What?" Like, she didn't know it was possible.
So you ruined it.
She didn't even. Yeah, well, maybe.
This guy let the cat out of the bag.
Yeah, but again, I don't think they knew what their system had done. It was always too needlessly complex. It was, you're getting these people that are coming into the game brand new, and let's be honest, the people who's going to spend the most money? The people that come in that are brand new, yeah, of course, because you want to buy into the game, right? And you want to make an informed purchase, but how do you make an informed purchase just when you don't already know anything? And how do you go to inform yourself quickly when it's complicated? Well, that makes it notoriously difficult. To go from 0 to 100 is really hard. But to go 0 to 10, well, that's not so bad. But they'd made it 0 to 100. I don't know how else to explain that. And I still think to this day that there are things that they can remove. I think all ships should just come with LTI, period. If you spend money, you get LTI.
Yeah, you get the warranty
it's a
at
peace
least.
of mind. Yeah, it's a peace of mind thing.
You always get the warranty.
And it's like you said, they've kind of watered down what LTI means with the crafting and stuff like that. So again, that just gives me more of a come on, just give it to everyone. Because as soon as every ship has LTI, it just brings the complexity level down of what you need to know by a lot.
Well, in my opinion, they watered down LTI by introducing this idea of a warranty, which is automatically on everything you spent real money on. So that's why I think like they're already giving every player back what I think people thought LTI was going to be, which is just like you get something back if you bought it with real money. Which I think they can't not do that. It's illegal.
Well, yeah, it's still really preferred by a lot of people. Like, there's almost no reason not to have it these days. Like, because, like, if you look at the last sale, there were 2 ships there you could have used, like the Pitbull or the Starlight, right? So you obviously just go for the cheap one. It really doesn't matter, and then you just upgrade it into the ship you want. So you can, because the Pitbull had LTI, whatever ship you turn it into will have LTI.
I appreciate you giving me that perfect segue because I want to talk about DefenseCon and the ships that came out then. But I want to start from the best. I think, well, I don't know about you, but I think the best ship that came out of DefenseCon was the Starlight.
Yes.
So I'd love to hear.
That's exactly what we thought.
Yeah.
And why is that? Tell me why. I know why it is, and I know you're going to tell me the same reason. Go ahead.
Gameplay.
Yeah, that's it. It just had different gameplay. Everything else was shooty.
Yeah. Well, come on. Ironclad is just glitchy. Come on now. Give it credit where credit's due. It brought something. I guess not new.
It's got cargo on it, and it's got, we don't really have a need for ground transporting of groups yet of ground vehicles yet, because there's ground vehicles that's not really used at the moment. So it'll have its day in the sun eventually. But yeah, the Starlight was the most interesting. It was also a unique hull. We're getting a lot, like in a time where we're getting all these dirty variants. It was nice to see a new looking ship that had this cool fat baby look about it. I don't know what to say. Like, it was a cute fat baby, It
was, and it's also, I think it really introduces. I'm really hoping it introduces the future of Star Citizen in the sense that they can start thinking about lowering fuel levels and raising fuel costs and making things feel further away from each other now. I just don't know how this newly synthesized community would respond to something like that.
Well, it was clearly designed for those NPC missions to refuel new players, because obviously they're eventually going to, they're prepping the game for 1.0 and the influx of people that are going to come after Squadron and stuff like that. So they want to get some of those things in. But $60, it was a cheap ship too. You kind of look at what it does at its level. It's more Prospector level, not Golem level. I was really kind of surprised it came in at the same price point.
So where would you, in terms of a ship release, let's give ourselves a little scale, S, A, B, C, F. Where would you put the Starlight?
Its gameplay probably makes it drop a point because it's not the most exciting gameplay. So I'd probably say maybe a B. It's a great ship for what it is for the price. You kind of can't complain when it's so cheap, can you?
But in terms of its release, a B.
Well, what do you mean specifically as a release? Like how I would review it?
Take into account the group of ships we're going to be talking about today. Okay, the Pitbull, the Tiburon, the Ironclad, the Odin, the Starlight.
It was the best of all those, in my personal opinion. It's not. There just wasn't that many exciting ships, right? And some people will probably disagree with me on that, but I can go through and explain every ship as we go through it, as in why I didn't think it was as exciting as the Starlight. But mainly, we haven't had any other refueler in the game since the Starfarer. That takes you all the way back to when the Starfarer came out, plus when they actually put the refueling mechanics in a couple of years ago. So there hasn't been many ships in that arena, and all we ever get these days are cargo and combat. And then rarely we'll get another miner or another salvager because we just don't have enough gameplay right now. And a little bit of medical too, I guess. But all the medical ships are out now, so we're not going to get any more of those. But yeah,
I do think it's very nice. Like, it really feels like we're in the age of industry when we have started to see some more of these focus ships, snubs, not snubs, but like starter ships that are focused on industry, and an alien ship's coming out that's industrial, and then now an industrial ship at what's essentially Fleet Week.
yeah.
Feels good. The tides are starting to turn, but I agree with you. This was the most exciting part because it's just like, and it also doesn't replace the Starfarer. It feels nice to see CIG release a ship with a profession that didn't just wipe out the reason for having the original ship they sold with the profession.
Well, not only that, it actually works in tandem with the Starfarer. That's what's so cool about it. It has those two pods off the Starfarer that it can carry. So when you actually start to think it through, does that mean I can take fuel out to the Starfarer to give to the Starfarer? Can I go out to the Starfarer that is kitted out with the refineries and buy two pods off him and give him the two empty ones? So we're working together. You see what I mean? So you start to see this synergy between the two ships. It's not just I'm a Starfarer and he's a Starlight and they're not completely compatible. They actually can work together. And then you clearly
Sounds like the start of a song.
Drake. Yeah, well, you've also got Drake that dribbly goes out of its way to shit on Misk. So you can clearly see in the future there's going to be another Drake variant coming from somewhere. A Drake refueler will be there. It's really obvious to me, and I guarantee you Paul would agree with me on that as well if he was here.
Speaking of Drake, how about the Pitbull? What did you think of that one? We talked a bit about that one on day one Info Runners.
I hated the name. That was my main problem with it.
Yeah.
And price. Why are the snubs more expensive than starter ships? It makes no sense. They've got
crazy.
Jump drive. They can't go anywhere. They're slave to another ship. They are so much cheaper. And in game, they're heaps cheaper, by the way. So why are they more expensive out of game? Like, what is the mindset there of and the Fury was sold at $55, so that must mean we're going to sell the Pitbull at $55. No, the Pitbull is Drake. It's not as much tech. It should be cheaper.
Yeah, that's actually a good point, because when we first were in this project, not even first, man, like 2018, 2019, 2020 time, when you thought of a Drake ship, I don't know about you, but I was still of the mindset that Drake ships would literally have less armor, which was a downside, and that they would cost less because of that. So I'm in full agreement that it doesn't make sense for that to then cost the same price as the Mirai Fury from a gameplay standpoint. But then we have to think about, well, CIG, they stand behind this opaque wall of, oh, you're not buying a ship, you're pledging for the game, and the ship is what comes with that pledge. And I see this said on Reddit, and I'm like, that's not how people are going to look at it. But sure, legally speaking, that's what it is. Does it feel then like they are being a little bit of it's a kind of a dick move to charge that much for a ship that can't even do the same as an Aurora, which costs less?
The only thing I can come back to that I can think of why, right, is to stop people that are joining the free flight from just buying a Pitbull and upgrading it into one of the newer ships to have LTI. That's the only thing I can think of. Because if you think of it, you have to buy a game package to be able to play the game. Now, if you buy a game package, you then want to buy another ship to get LTI. You see what I'm doing? So so instead of you just buying one ship, it kind of forces you to buy two if you want LTI. That's the only reason I can think of.
But what new player is going to even know about or care about LTI?
They'll meet other, I don't know what percentage, but a lot of people do play the game through their friends that say, hey, it's free fly, come along here, buy this is the best way to buy it, and they get informed. And they also meet new players, ask questions in chat, and people inform them and stuff like that. So a lot of people do learn as they go, but yeah, you are right, some people will just come in and buy it and go. I don't know what the percentage is, but think about the money that is potentially lost there from CIG. That's the only reason I can think of to why they have done it this way.
How do you feel about the ship in terms of gameplay?
It's the same as the Fury. Remember how many Furies came out? Do you remember how everyone was stuffing their Hercules full of them, and then a month later they'd all gone? It's the same thing. Have you seen any Pitbulls in game?
Well, I mean, I actually think that's changed a little bit with the capital ship. hangar services.
Mhm. Yep. I have not seen another player in game with a pitbull. Right, and the only time actually that's not true. There was we went on one tactical strike group with the Ironclad assault, and we had pitbulls in it. Actually, no, I take that back. No, there was that one time, but that was an entire group that built around did that.
Well,
But
it's only been
any
like
normal,
2 weeks.
yeah, but normally I see when the like Tiburons, I saw them everywhere.
Well, yeah. So I understand like they don't have a quantum drive, so they're not getting around.
Yeah,
But for like, let's say in terms of when you used it in the Ironclad assault, did it feel like it was useful to be there, or did it feel like
not
it
really.
was?
Not
No.
really. I feel like I should. Well, it's a weaker ship. Like in a game where Death of the Spaceman matters so much, why would I want to put myself in the shittiest ship possible
Look,
and
man,
then go
I
into
think
combat?
I think we all know the answer to that. That's just not going to matter that much. I'm trying to just slowly accept it, but I just think that that's probably what they're going to do.
I think when you kind of work it through, the only way that I think it'll eventually work is drones, because you can send out a drone that's almost as capable as a snub. But when the drone dies, no one gives a shit, because you can just spawn another one or build another one and send it out, and you've never left the safety of your mothership, so to speak. So it's just, I don't know, nothing adds up, like the math is not mathing, as they say, because they're more expensive, they're weaker.
It is weird that the price. I think that really, to me, is like, yeah, like you said, maybe they're trying to get people to buy more ships. I don't know. It feels to me like they just know folks want to buy the new thing, and even though it comes completely gimped without a quantum drive, they'll still price it for the price of the supplies it doesn't have. And yeah, that's a little weird. Makes you wonder how future snubs are going to be. Let's talk about the next biggest ship up, though, the Origin M80. What'd you think of that one?
Oh, this one was really well received by the community. Which from the cost perspective, I was kind of surprised. But then after I talked to a lot of people took their Guardians and Guardian MXs, and this is what they wanted the Guardian to be. Right? Like highly mobile, where the Guardian became more like a tank. And well, here's the weird thing. Normally you have a tank to make up for that slowness, not just shields, but you have better guns. This has speed and better guns than the Guardian. So, and it's got less of a health pool, but if they can't hit you, then the health doesn't matter. So you've got better guns and speed. So there's just something again there that's not mathing. It's too strong right now, and I don't know. I feel a ban hammer or a nerf hammer incoming on it.
So you don't think it has many or enough downsides?
Well, look at the Guardian. You had 4 size 4s or 2 size 5s. This thing has 2 size 4s and 2 size 5s. That's better than the Guardian in every single way. Just on guns. Let's not talk about the speed or anything like that. Just the guns. It's dead. And then I can. There are people that are very divided on the look. Some people like the look. Some people hate the look.
You like the RGB lights?
Take it or leave it. It doesn't really matter. It's a retro
I'll
look.
leave
It's
it.
very cyberpunk. Some people are like, well, I have RGB.
Let me customize it.
Turned off.
Come on, I could change the color of these lights.
Exactly. So maybe that'll all come in time. But I've heard people like Expat was there, like analyzing the curves of the ship and going, these are not correct. And I was like, and I said to her, I think they're deliberately incorrect to make a statement, to be bold, right? Which is kind of what they did with the 400i. And the 400i is probably one of the best ships they've had luck with selling, because it did hit that luxury boldness thing. You don't just usually see a Lamborghini. You see like a parrot yellow Lamborghini, because people want it to stand out, to draw attention to themselves.
I hear it. I do hear that argument, but man, if the 400i looked different, I think it would have been a crazy good seller. Like, yeah, the 400i did well, but a 3-person ship from Origin for general purpose use that just looked like, I don't know, a smaller 600i kind of ship, or I
Well,
know they're
well,
going to release it at some point. We're going to see a mid-sized ship from Origin. It's going to slap.
we're actually expecting. Now we've got no proof of this. Absolutely none. Right? I'm just going to say it right now. But we have a feeling. Remember how they talked about a generalist ship coming?
Yeah.
And I know you've talked about it as well. The 400i would make a great generalist like the Clipper. It really, really would. So I don't know. It's something we were expecting until this matey turned up. So,
Yeah, same here.
But yeah,
The matey.
Question for you. If they not knowing the price or anything like that, but I'm going to give you one for free, and you get to pick 400i or matey. Which one would you
400i.
pick? Did you know the 400i costs less than the matey?
I'm not surprised.
By $50.
That's so funny, man. Yeah, when I looked at the ships that you could get for the same price as the matey, I was like, the gun tax is crazy.
Yeah. The Paladin at Warbond was $280. It's now up to like $350. But if you're going to get a gunship, why wouldn't you just go to the next step up and go to a Paladin or a Redeemer? Or like, it's just that and much more. Like, you've already spent $300, spend another 10%, and you can go to multi-crew versions.
This is why you just don't spend real money on ships.
Yeah. That's crazy. But anyway.
Let's talk about, let's see, what do we have left? How about the Ironclad? There's a lot to say there. Oh my gosh.
There's a lot of good, there's a lot of bad, right? And I think everyone's got to take ships on a personal basis. So when I say this, I'm talking personally. But for me personally, there is no room in my fleet for an Ironclad. I have a merchantman. The Ironclad has almost the same CCU count as an Ironclad, but you can see further down the game where the Banner Merchantman's almost 6 times the size of an Ironclad. If you just want to do cargo, then there is a need for that ship. But for me, because I've got the bigger one, I can take it and I can earn down to the Ironclad. So for me, there's no reason for an Ironclad. But if Drake is your jam, cargo is your jam, absolutely. Then you look back at the Assault and go, well, what's in the game right now and what's just around the corner with base building? I think in the short to medium term, the Ironclad Assault is going to be the variant of choice, because you lose about a Hercules worth of cargo. So you lose about 600 cargo, go down to 1440 SCU instead of 2000. And the ability to put ships and vehicles in there and rearm, refuel, and repair is going to be really, really strong. Combining with that, the ability to everyday cargo drive. So it kind of gives you a ship that you can do things on the weekend and during the week with, if you get my meaning. Mm-hmm. So I think short term that'll be, but I think long term, once you start to bring in other things like the Kraken and the Liberator, so I think like 12, 18 months ahead, you start to go, well, you bring the Liberator in, well, that's treading a lot on the Assault now, isn't it? You bring the Kraken in, oh, that's definitely treading on the Assault now. You see where I'm going? So they're not the only ships that are going to have that capability. And by the same token, it's not going to work exactly. Well, obviously, I can't do the rearming and stuff like that. But if I had a fabricator just sitting in my Ironclad on the cargo grid, can I not technically just make parts for my Ironclad Assault? You see where I'm going, right? So in a way, I think because of the way they've made it, I probably would have preferred a more modular design on the Ironclad, where you can put in a fabrication area or put in a cargo area. But that's not how they decided to go. I also look at the Ironclad, and if you kind of take off the front section, you take off the roof and you take off the floor, what does that look like in your head?
The front section, the roof, and the floor?
I'll give you a clue. Crucible? It's another Drake ship. It's got another Drake ship that does that. Well, it does look like a Crucible, Vulture. Actually. So you could see very quickly with all the variants they're doing right now, there's another ship that they can make a variant of pretty quickly. Like, does it make another base builder? Does it make you see where I'm going, right? Just by rejigging it slightly, you can see that they could quickly turn it into another industry ship of some kind.
Yeah.
Whatever that is, right? Because it's got that kind of look where you can put something in the middle and it's doing something, right? So I think it's been designed with another thing in mind. I could be wrong, right? But I just can't unsee that because of the way it does look to giant arms just by simply removing 3 panels, essentially.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know.
Can
Food
I
for thought, right?
can I ask you something about what you said there about the capital ship services?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that the capital ship services, if they're giving us a way to have a specific ship reload something else in a specific area, then
Mm-hmm.
there's not any difference from that another ship land. Let's say the Ironclad Assault and the Ironclad. If you land a ship in the Ironclad Assault, you can reload, repair, refuel. If you land a ship in the Ironclad, you can't. Why? Like, as players, shouldn't we be able to walk up to the ship and rearm and refuel it?
I think it's going to come back to things like fabricators, right? So if you have a bigger ship and it takes size 2 components, but your fabricator can only make the size 1 components, and clearly the one in the Ironclad is a size 1 fabricator because it's the same size. It's almost identical to the one in the Clipper, right? So it's really going to come down to the size of the fabricators. I don't think it's so much going to be repairs, because repairs will probably just be hand tools anyway, because it looks like the only way you can do proper repairs is with the arms, like off the Scarab, or putting it into one of the fabricator hangars and doing it in a sealed box, essentially. You know what I mean?
I just
Um,
I just don't see why it's tied to the ship. What I'm trying to get at is there some kind of a benefit to my ship automatically magically reloading my ship from the cargo of said ship, or is this just a holdover until later when we can manually do it ourselves?
I think you'll be able to do it manually, but it'll be more time consuming.
So then why would you?
Need, desperation.
Isn't that a little weird?
You know,
Like Star Citizen
well,
is a tactile game of interaction that they're going to have this method of just magicking the ammo from the cargo grid onto the ships.
do you ever envision, like, in the future, that you're in a fight in one of your ships and you crash land on a planet and you have to go into survival mode because you don't have a way to contact to get out? So you've got to take this small little survival kit that's in the ship. You've got to get out. You literally, it's almost like a game of Ark Survival Evolved. You've got to cut some trees down. You've then got to go start mining. You've got to build a forge, get it all up, and then eventually you can build a beacon that you can set off that people can see, or send a message, and they come and rescue you. And it might take you 5 to 6 hours to do that.
Yeah.
And that is something they have talked about, by the way. I'm not just pulling this out of my ass. Right?
Sure.
So a part of it is that no ship should really be able to do everything, and any ship that can kind of do everything, you've seen that you essentially need to be on like a space station or some massive ship that requires so much teamwork. It's kind of ridiculous, right? And that's the thing. Like the primary resource in this game is people. It's really obvious.
Are you saying the manual, like, you won't be able to do that stuff in places that you don't have like the facilities of a large ship, and that's the emphasis of the large ship?
Well, in multiple cases, they've also talked about tech levels, right? So if you're in a system like Stanton, it's obviously high security, high tech level, right? You drop back to Nix, it becomes, medium security, medium tech level. And then you go into Pyro, it's low security, low tech level. And we've already seen this in a few of the things they've done. Like, why do they have drones that reload cargo, but they also have hand trolleys for reloading cargo? Because obviously when you go out to an outpost and under the fringes, they're not, like a pioneer type area, they're not going to have the facilities. It's just like real life. They want to kind of make that, an advantage to upgrade to higher tech to increase productivity and stuff like that. So even when you take, a higher tier of ship, let's just, you're talking about unloading cargo or rearming or repair, right? If you take your really big fancy ship and you go to an outpost that doesn't have the loading services, you are going to have to sit there and unload it all by hand because they don't have an auto loader system.
Yeah.
Right.
Whenever
and it's the
we get
same
around to
thing
that.
when you, yeah. So it'll be the same thing. If you take your ship out, wherever you're going, there are pros and cons to everything. Well, I don't want there to be cops around so I can be a pirate. Well, you're probably going to have low tech because you can't pay for the facilities. But there may be these outliers where there is high piracy or low security, but high tech. And I just like, how is that going to work? Is it some kind of pirate group that is just really good at law enforcement? You see where I'm going here, right? So
Yeah.
it's a juxtaposition. You're not always going to see that. It's going to be a rarity.
I'll accept that. And let's look at the overall launch of the Ironclad. We actually haven't graded the other ones. You'll have to go retrospectively grade those retroactively. But let's talk about the Ironclad's release. How would you grade that, and how would you grade CIG's handling of the clear disaster?
Yeah, pretty buggy. Even I had actually had to edit review. We don't really edit our videos ever, right? So to actually have to slice it was like, whoa, okay. We had a lot of issues there. I just keep coming back to Squadron, that there is just so much shit going on behind the scenes right now. That's the only thing I can give them. But in hindsight, it's probably one of the worst ship releases we've seen in a really long time from a tech perspective. And it keeps coming back to one of the things that I've heard you say a few times, like, why are they doing these big sales and doing free flies at the same time? It's not exactly always their best foot forward, is it? And when your premier ship of the sale is so buggy that the lights don't work and stuff like that, I don't understand why there wasn't really, like, even now, after the sales concluded, it hasn't really been fixed at all. It's still, it's just a little weird. There's something not quite adding up, and the only thing I can bring it back to is Squadron, that they're just so busy working on that they're just like, nothing else matters. So I don't know.
Yeah, they really stumbled into this sale, and it did phenomenal for them, which I think is the only reason really that they could just be so chill about everybody being so annoyed. But I do think that this has shaken a lot of people in terms of how they feel about the game overall. Yeah, we had $45 million in May.
Yeah, it's just crazy. The biggest one they've ever had. Like, it's, we made 155 last year. Man, what are we going to hit this year? Is that like 175? Like, that's crazy to me.
Yeah.
And this has to be the most buggiest patch that I think we've had in 2 years?
Give or take, yeah. It certainly, it just doesn't feel like it was ready. It doesn't feel like, it feels like it was pushed out for the sale. And I think that's going to stick with people. I don't think anybody is not, I can't say anybody. Most people that I've talked to are pretty stuck on the idea that, like, clearly CIG felt like they needed to push something out before it was ready. I mean, the developers that were up working on it were up after midnight the day after the patch was supposed to come out. It was not good. And I think the Ironclad really has personified that whole thing. Well, shipified that whole thing, because it's the one that still is rough. It's still not working. And it's still, on all the videos I'm releasing, all the updates about maintenance being done, CIG wants to get this fixed. They want to put out this hot fix. They have this maintenance period planned. The main question that keeps coming out is, what about the Ironclad, the command modules, the ship that I paid $600 for? Like, can I fly it yet? It's just a really bad look. And they're about to have another ship sale probably in the next 10 days.
Yeah. And does that mean that, like, well, again, are those problems going to transfer over to the Rayleigh and the other ship as well? So, both being cargo ships, you've got to wonder if there's a bit of a tie there. I do think most of the Ironclad, though, is command module related, personally.
Yeah.
And a lot of it seems to be the transferring of ownership and controls. So maybe that tech wasn't just quite ready, and it's, again,
whoa, wait,
put the ship out in a way that it's
not ready tech. That's weird.
As in the command module stuff.
Yeah, no, I hear you. It's just like, I feel like we could maybe preview that tech somehow to make sure that didn't happen. Like a channel or a server for previewing, maybe a tech preview.
But they don't give it to those people.
That would have
Because
spoiled the surprise.
because people will leak it. That's the problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
They are now even pre-leaking stuff themselves. So they basically put out pictures of these ships a week before because they knew at the end of the week they were going to release the patch, and then leaks would have put out all the. So they basically just pre-leaked everything. I thought it was interesting.
That's what makes people think that these are decisions made by marketing. I'm not saying they are, but they are made with marketing in mind, that you need to keep that surprise for yourself because you need to control the communication of it. And I don't fault them for that at all. But I do when it starts to affect the state of the game at a time when they're advertising it to be not just a marketing machine, but also a game to come and play.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't. Man, I am literally worried about how like a lot of people talk about how many people will play Squadron and transfer over to Star Citizen, and I think they're in for a rude shock.
Dude, it's not even that. That's not even the worry. The worry is when they start marketing it and people come play Star Citizen. Right? The second that Bethesda drops the actual trailer for Elder Scrolls 6, people are going to go play Elder Scrolls 5, right?
Yeah.
People are going to look for Star Citizen when they drop the stuff for Squadron.
Yep. That's what I mean. Like, I don't think a lot of people are going to transfer. Like, there were people like I sat there and chat on, several times during DefenseCon, and I just remember one guy specifically, and he's like, I just paid $45 for this buggy piece of shit. And he goes, I'm going to get a refund and I'm never coming back. And I was like, this is it. You can't do this because you only have one chance for a first impression. You burn someone and they never come back.
So a lot of people are saying that like they're done with Star Citizen, that this is it, the last straw, or at least that no more ship buying until they have fixed themselves. People are feeling the squeeze, if you will. Do you take that as, I mean, I feel like if the game ends up being amazing, people would still end up coming back. Do you think that it's legit that people are just kind of turning away from it completely, or is it more smoke?
That's a really tough one because that's an individual question, right?
It is. Yeah. Can't generalize everyone.
No, I can't generalize anyone, but you can kind of look at the things that are exacerbating the issue. So obviously, when it's in a buggy state and there's already limited gameplay, the game itself is taking a long time to produce. These are all things that are just going to add to it and make it harder. You're also doing a sale that's really stressing the servers. You're also doing a free fly, so there is heaps more people on the server and new people crashing their ships or crashing into you and stuff like that. So it becomes this cooking pot of all these problems. And I know a lot of people that as soon as they know there's a sale on, they just don't even play the game because they know it's going to run like dog shit. So
yeah, I actually usually don't say, like, I tell people to try out free flies, but this was a different kind of situation for sure.
I'm the same. I don't do it around the sales. I always say try and do it when it's, a free flight, like when it's fine, when there's not a big event on or something like that. But yeah, I've never understood why the only one they really have is, what is it, the Founders one? The Founders one that's specifically for new people.
The Frontier Festival, July.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
And that's a nice one to do it on because it also encourages veterans to work with players. That is the best time. But when do you ever really see people using that system? Like, there's no one ever there trying to use it. A lot of new people don't even know it exists until you tell them.
Yeah, it's not in the game because you have to go to the website. Yeah. It's just like, like once they bring in the social apps, don't get me started, man. Don't get me on my freaking soapbox, dude.
you got to start moving these things from website to reality, and they've got to be pointed in the right direction. And these new people have to be able to find this shit effortlessly. It's kind of like I was saying before. Like, if you've got to learn how to buy ships through this mini game of CCUs, you're not going to do it. And it's the same thing. Like, if you can't play the tutorial and you get frustrated, you're just going to leave.
Yeah.
I was playing this new game the other day, and there were no arrow. They told me what the objective was, and I was at this house, and it said, "Find the portal room." Now I went right through the house, all over the freaking thing. Why wasn't there just something pointing me towards the portal room? And so I just got frustrated and quit the game. And then I went to YouTube and said, "Where the fuck is the portal room in this motherfucking game?" But you shouldn't have to do that, right? It's got to ease you in, and especially in a game that's as complicated as Star Citizen. Think about how you're going to do a tutorial in the future, right? Like, you've got the basics of walking around and shooting. You've got the basics of flight, but what happens when you go from doing the basic cargo missions to basic mining, basic salvage? How is that going to branch out? How are you going to teach people to go from one to the other?
The main story.
Like that's what I mean. You're going to have
the main story has to be the tutorial of all gameplay, basically, and it's got to introduce people to all that stuff. Yeah, the factions.
It's the only way it's going to work. It's the only way. It has to be like a taste platter of everything in the game, so you kind of go, "Oh, I remember that, and I'll play that later."
And it makes sense then to not like. I think the game should have something that helps players right now, but building out the whole new player experience right now would be a waste because it has to be incorporated basically into the whole game. Like a good 30% of this game is going to have to be tutorials, and obviously. Tutorials in the sense that missions that are teaching you new mechanics, not necessarily like you have to press a button and then read something on the screen. It's just so much of this game is going to be introducing people to stuff.
Wouldn't it be really good though at a simple level where a new player comes in and it just brings up a display and says, "Would you like to set off a beacon so a veteran player can come and help you play the game?"
Oh yeah.
And it just drops a beacon and it puts up a flare or whatever you want to call it, and a new player that's kind of can see mission, help a noob, whatever, and you go over there and you go help them and go, what do you want to help with, and you just sit around and play. Or you drop a beacon and it says, "I want to learn how to mine." Bang. Or I want to, almost like I want to learn mission or learning missions or whatever. Mm-hmm. Like I've never understood why that hasn't started to be incorporated, because it's something that could very easily be expanded. And once you've kind of got the basics, isn't it really just the text that changes? So it doesn't have to actually take you on a mining mission. It sets you up almost like a friend finder, like a master and apprentice type of scenario.
It's the beacon system.
Yeah.
It's I can actually pull it up here. The beacon system that they originally showed that they want to do, it has a literal, like a guide system, beacon system, basically, where you can sign up to be able to show people specific parts of the game.
It's like you said, social tools, man. Formative. Pretty big thing.
It's always the social tools. This is actually, I guess, kind of the org tools. But for anybody who is actually watching this right now, you can check out on screen. I'm going to pull it up here in a minute. Here we go.
You have a lot of files, very heavily organized for people that don't know. He has like a whole archive of them. He's obsessed.
This is, I just pulled up the YouTube channel. I'm too lazy for this one. But you can see here on the screen, so they've got guide beacons here on the right side, you can see, and service beacons. And basically, you'll be able to, and I think it would be even cool if they went a little bit further and said like, oh, there's special space stations you can show up to where like, this is a place where we'll have stuff specifically made for newcomers and people who are looking for help. But I do think that would be very, very helpful. And it just always goes back to the social tools, man.
Well, it goes even further too. Like, wait, I can change the guns on my ship. Where do I go to buy the gun that I want? What is the best gun I want? So what's the tutorial on how guns work? Yeah. And how do I tell what gun is better than another? Like, we got none of this. Yeah. None of it. I can't even look at
very much a game in the making.
There's not even proper stats in game for me to compare.
It's pretty bare bones. Yeah.
Why do you reckon Urkel's so popular? Because it actually gives you the stuff that you need.
Well, that's why so many of the services that run this game are just hosted by players on the internet. And we need more of that in game at some point. But let's move on to the last ship of DefenseCon, the big one, big boy, the one that made the big beacon and pushed us over $1 billion in funding. The Anvil Odin. I know you got a lot to say on that.
What's not the last one? We've also got to talk about Tiburon then. We didn't talk
Oh
about that.
crap,
Anyway.
that's right. Okay, go ahead and do the Tiburon first. That's you got even more to say about that one.
I'm just not a fan of where the ships are leading, as in, say you brought a Hammerhead years ago, and then they kind of came in and they've kind of stolen the look and the feel, the interior. It's almost like you brought it for its look, and then they've come along and it's like the Asgard and Valkyrie all over again, but this time the Tiburon's actually, it's not as much blowback because the Tiburon's probably a worse ship than the Hammerhead is. But they could have changed the interior. If you know how Dataforge works, they could have made them look different. They didn't. And then the function of the ship itself, I'm just not a fan of either. I think the Perseus does it better. Obviously, the size 10 laser is the focal point, and because of that, the way the kind of pilot works, I'm just not a big fan. He was more about getting the turret gunners to do their thing. He was all about positioning, so they're all working as a team. And now it's become this very, I'm the pilot, everyone works around me. It's
I do get that
for me. Yeah.
I do get that, but we were talking before the show, and I was saying I think that having the ability for everybody on the ship to focus power forward still allows it to be a pretty formidable ship if you have a decent pilot.
And then the weakness becomes that back turret. If you all the orgs I got to test it, they also came back and said we almost died to Fighter X, and they were in PvSP in the tactical strike groups. So what happens when you put a player in that knows the turret, the anti-aircraft turret is on the bottom at the back? Well, then don't you just stay above the ship?
You're telling me these people were getting killed by NPC fighters?
That's how bad it is. Every org I got to test it, they're like, we're going back to the Perseuses.
You gotta come check out my boys in GII, man. We were loving that ship. I wouldn't say it's the best against fighters.
I will bring bops, and then you will get rid of your Tiburons.
Hey, you said PvE, buddy.
No. You said you come try it out. I will bring bops, and I'm just telling you, there are some PvE people out there that they just eat the Tiburon for breakfast. It's
I'm not. I don't even know about PvP. In terms of PvE, though, I'm surprised that there are orgs complaining about it. I think that there's definitely a place for the Tiburon. I agree with you in the sense that like it's just a repeat of the Hammerhead on the interior. But in terms of like being able to use the Tiburon for something useful, I think it makes a lot of sense to use versus a Perseus if you don't have as good a pilot, because the Perseus really takes some skill to get both those turrets on target for a long time.
Perseus just runs rings around it, absolutely destroys it. It just shreds them. Again, like the crew count that's required in the Tiburon, you can essentially take that and split it and put them in two Perseuses.
Yeah.
And every org I talked to, when they had Perseus versus Tiburon fights, there was just no contest. The Perseus just ran rings around it. Because you can only get the laser to go forward. So as soon as you're not in front of it, which is, let's be honest, that's most of the ship, is it not? Right? So as soon as you're not in front of it, they've only got size 7 turrets, of which they can sometimes have 4, sometimes have 2 on you. And you've got 2 size 8s that are dual.
Yeah, I don't know about like a duel between the two, but I'm thinking in terms of if you were fighting in a group, like you were using these ships for, say you're in a fleet and you need to take out somebody else's Polaris. Taking a Tiburon versus a Perseus, it feels like you could have pretty equal effectiveness between those two, depending on like what you're trying to do with it.
You're getting into the teamwork of it now. So again, that also comes down to pilot skill and stuff like that. But if you kind of can and can't do that because it makes it really complicated, right? But if you strip a ship back to just itself, on paper, they don't line up. The math is not mathing with the Tiburon, right? It's got too many
math
weaknesses.
is working out today, huh?
So what I'm trying to say is, like, the Tiburon's one advantage is this size 10 railgun that is short range. It does lots of damage, but it only fires in one direction. You can't rotate it. You have to rotate the entire ship, bring the entire mass of this giant ship to bear. Right? So it clearly is not going to take out fighters. It's probably going to maybe a Connie if you're really lucky, but most Connies I think would run around a hammerhead. You know what I mean? Like you could shoot a bigger ship, but you're not going to stay on it, right? So it's and when all those guns are size 7s, they're clearly tailored at bigger ships. So you send in multiple fighters and swarm this. I'd love to see what pit bulls do to this. Actually, be really interesting.
Yeah, pit bulls would be interesting
because you wouldn't be able to like you got one turret. Anyway.
More a devil's advocate angle, but technically with the Perseus, half your turret can't fire straight forward, so you have to spin that ship as well, don't you?
No, both turrets will fire forward on the Perseus.
Oh,
they will. You've just got to keep
okay.
it.
Well, then that changes things.
You just got to keep it horizontal, and in fact, you got to remember, unlike the railgun, they can turn sideways.
Yeah. Well,
so as long as it goes back to what I was saying with the hammerhead, where you've got to work with your people to keep all the turrets on the thing. The Perseus has to do the same thing, where the pilot, his job is all about making it so those two turrets can line up and fire, right? And that's why the Tiburon's a problem, because he's focusing on the lasers so much that the turrets become secondary. But the turrets are your only defense.
Yeah, I was under the impression the Perseus rear cannon could not fire forward. So that definitely changes things.
It's actually got when you get in it, right? It's actually got a neck that extends. Next time someone gets in it, have a look. There's a neck and it goes like that, like it comes down from the body.
So let's then, before we step into the Odin, let's talk about the ships we've hit today. So the Pitbull, right, had, in your opinion, a pricing problem and a scale problem in the sense it doesn't have a quantum drive. It's not very useful.
Yeah. Well, that's all snubs. That's not just the math doesn't math.
The M80 feels too powerful. Feels like it's going to get nerfed.
But it is very good. I would say, if it stays where it is, it's quite powerful.
All right.
Good ship. Good Origin ship. And that's a rated for me.
What would you give those two releases compared to the Starlight, which was an A or a B?
I'd probably put the maybe a B for the matey as well. The Pitbull is just I wouldn't even give it a score. It's terrible, in my opinion. I'm just not a fan of snubs. I want like the snubs that I like are like utility based and stuff like that you can add to a mothership. And it feels like this was just made to have something in addition to add to the assault, because originally the assault was meant to be vehicle transport only, like ground vehicles, and now it also does ships. So it's clearly been almost feels like marketing as kind of, hey, we need something to sell with this assault.
And what would you rate it?
I don't know. Oh God, I don't know. What's the lowest score I can give?
An F.
Oh, then an F. Yeah.
All right. And the Tiburon.
Ironically, it's not as good as the Hammerhead, because when you break it down and lay everything out, the weaknesses of the Hammerhead are ships that are bigger than it, right? Which is mainly capital ships. The weaknesses of the Tiburon are all the ships that are smaller than it, like fighters and stuff. And there are a lot more fighters in the game than there are capital ships. So that ironically makes it worse than the Hammerhead, in my personal opinion.
And what would you rate it?
Maybe a D.
All right. How about the Odin now? This was the big one. $5,000 for a JPEG. That's not coming for 5 years.
So tell me, Mr. Space Tomato, what is the crew count on the Odin?
I don't know.
Go to this.
60?
Go open this. They
49?
They told us later in a Star Citizen Live, but it is literally not on the store page. How can you make an informed decision when you do not know a basic stat like what is the crew count? And when you're talking about a ship that is the biggest player ship ever sold, don't you think that is a really pivotal part and piece of information? I need to have this many friends to man this mega ship.
Not when it's a picture.
And you haven't told me? Speaking of pictures, probably the worst concept images we've ever got. They
Yeah,
seem
they were a little
completely rushed
weird.
compared to others. The whole concept sale of this Odin seems completely rushed compared to previous concept sales. No very little stats that actually matter. Like some core things mixed. We were told it was meant to do something crazy, and it's just guns. It's just and it's got a hanger. How is that crazy? It's no different from stuff that we haven't got before. It's just a upscaled Idris javelin. There's nothing super unique about it. Does it have e-warfare? Does it have modular components or rooms? None of that was talked about in one way or the other, and I have to assume it doesn't. So therefore, it is what it is.
It's got a tram.
What is its main focus? Is it designed to take out space stations? Is it designed to just take on other ships of its same size? So it's designed to fight with the Bengal and that. So does it just become this really limited ship that you only use on the weekends? Like, they just didn't go into enough depth on it.
Yeah.
And you're talking about $5,000. Like we're talking about a really expensive game as it is, but Space Fighter, you know as well as I do, if I gave you $5,000, I know you wouldn't spend it on ships, but think about how many ships you can buy for $5,000.
Yeah. It's a lot. I mean, it's how much
I
stuff in general.
And all you're getting is combat. So if you're going to take $5,000 and you want to get your bang for your buck, don't you want to get as much different types of gameplay as possible?
Yeah. It's a weird choice, that one.
I didn't get one. I didn't want one. But I know there is a lot of people out there that got one. Well, Algrid got one, right? But he had 3 javelins, so he just got rid of 2 javelins and got an Odin. That makes sense, right? If you'd overspent, it kind of makes sense to switch around and have a ship that you don't.
I mean, but that's what we started this conversation with, right? It's a way to get people to spend a little more.
That's it.
Yeah.
And a lot of people wanted it for credit. A lot of people that missed out because they wanted it for credit and they just couldn't get it for credit. And there were a lot of people that just bit the bullet and paid $5,000. You know, I don't know many people that have that amount of disposable income in a kind of downturn type of. We're not in a recession, but across the globe, things are pretty down right now, right?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It feels
weird.
Yeah. Well, it feels, I think, to a lot of people like CIG is doing a lot to try and just make money. I mean, we're seeing that they are well far ahead of last year, which was well far ahead of the previous year. Almost like they're trying to prove something or prepare for something. Does it feel to you like there's just like something we're not getting?
It's marketing and Squadron. It's clearly what it is. It's been the drive for the last couple of years.
But they want to do a freaking 2-month marketing cycle. What's that going to cost?
I don't know, but I think there's other parts in that as well. You know, publishing. Are they going to pay streamers to do it? Are they worried it's not going to sell as well? I've got no idea. Right? Like, what's the other side of this? Is there something wrong with the game and it's going to sell poorly? It could be anything. But yeah, you're right. It does feel like money raising, and it also has felt like that with the variants of the ships.
Mm-hmm. For the last year.
Yeah, it almost, you know, initially I was like, okay, it's got to be Squadron. They're money raising for Squadron, but yeah, I don't know.
Do you think that this comes?
That out in the comments.
You think this comes from Chris Roberts, from the CFO, from pressure or elsewhere, investors? Like, do you think Chris is still making a lot of the big decisions?
Well, there's the board there now, right? So obviously, we don't get to see enough of Chris anymore, in my personal opinion. I think they're scared of him promising new things all the time. But when they have Chris and Sandy together, Sandy's really good at pulling stuff out of Chris, and I'd have them talk more personally. I think since they stopped talking and things have been more closed off as a whole, we're in a worse place. You know, we're not as informed as we were, and I think a part of the reason why there is a lot of blowback to stuff is if you inform someone, are they angry? No. Right? They understand. You tell them what's going on with a problem, they understand. But if you just sit there and don't say anything and just expect, and yes, it does blow over eventually. I get that, but it's look at the current situation, like with the Ironclad and stuff. If they just come out and said, "Oh, we're having troubles with this, and that," do you think people would be better or worse?
Mm-hmm.
that'd be better.
Yeah,
Obviously,
they should have
You know,
talked more about that.
I think they treat the Star Citizen community a little bit too much like children, because there are some people that are really loud and they do act like children. But as a whole, I think if you told us all, it would be the informed adults that rein in the kid-like behavior of the others, in my
Yeah.
personal opinion.
Agreed.
But when you don't tell anyone, the adults just let the kids go wild, because how can I go to the kid and say you're wrong when I don't know what they're doing wrong because you haven't told me what they're doing wrong? But if you've told me what's going on, I can go to the kid and go, "Hey, kid, shut up. It's this, and this. Why it's not happening."
It's one way to say
I know
it.
that sounds a weird allegory or whatever to explain it that way, but that is kind of what it's like. I can't tell someone to be quiet I think he's got every right to be loud, because they're not telling him why he should be quiet.
From a ship sales perspective, heading towards Star Citizen 1.0, to kind of wrap things up, where do you think it feels like they're on a trajectory towards in terms of monetization, ship sales? Are they just going to keep doing this stuff forever, in your opinion?
I do think we are moving to a cosmetic future. I think that is the clear plan. I think we're kind of seeing things like that with the Shiv body kits and that coming in. And if you kind of look at the Tiburon, it really is a body kit for the Hammerhead, but then they sold it as a completely independent ship. So I think, sadly, where we're going is a future where they take ships that they already have and modify them. We've already seen them doing shit tons of variants. This is just the next step. So instead of a variant, you just make the entire outside look different and call it a whole new ship, which is which is really a variant, in my opinion. It's just like a deluxe variant. I don't know what else you want to call it, right? But realistically, if you look at the Tiburon, as soon as you go inside, you just realize it's a Hammerhead. They didn't even change the colors of the goddamn thing on the inside, and it inherited all the flaws of the Hammerhead.
Well, if that means less ship sales post 1.0, would you prefer that?
I don't really have a problem with ship sales. I just want better ships. If I'm buying a product, don't I want the product to be the best it can possibly be? So if I'm buying the product, as long as it's better, I just don't want it. Like, again, I didn't like the Tiburon a lot because it was just essentially it's a cloned Hammerhead with a different face on it, lipstick on a pig, and they changed the guns. What do you do? And then charged it like it's a whole new ship. Couldn't that have been a kit for the Hammerhead?
Yeah, probably.
Couldn't you have just made it, so there's a way to attach the laser to the Hammerhead and you just switch the turrets over to something? Realistically, think about it. They've just taken the idea of a kit and turned it into a whole ship.
Everybody's going to be on the sliding scale as to how that is.
Yeah, exactly. Because again, like for me, it would have been far better to have that customization in game and go, right, well, I'm sick of these quad size 4s. Let's have 2 size 7s and 2. Imagine if you could make a ship that's between the two.
Yeah.
But that'd be sick. Awesome customization. That's where I want the game to go towards. Player choice, where players can customize the look of their ship, the weapons of their ships, the components of their ships, the subcomponents, the color of the walls, the color of the exterior. Can I put some greebling on it to change the look? Can I actually get a giant red nose and put on my ship? Can I put a big, shark fin on top of it if I want to make it actually look like a shark? Can I do that? And that's the type of thing, I want players to be able to be creative and play a choice. But where you're going here is you're being creative as the developer, but then locking down and making us pay for two separate things.
Yeah. Well, we'll see where they go from it. I think there's a lot of weird ways it could go, and it's pretty unpredictable at this point.
Let me just put that back to you then. What would you prefer, player choice or raising money to help CIG?
No, I prefer
where are you at
choice.
With that?
Yeah, I'm definitely player choice.
Can I ask in the comments below too? Because I'll read the comments after. But yeah, let me know. Would you rather player choice or would you rather, them just raise money? There's pros and cons of both, obviously, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Let us wrap things up with my favorite part: predictions. You get to make a prediction at the end of the show that we get to come back and visit in the next couple months, to see where just how crazy things are and how much fun we can make of you for the things you got absolutely wrong.
Do you want an out there one, or do you want like a really?
It's got to be your wild one.
A wild one, right? Really have a super wild one.
Okay,
well, I think the only thing the only thing I can say is I have a massive feeling that we're going to be seeing a shit ton of variants. They've caught on to that this can sell. They've caught on to the fact that like they seem to be getting cheaper and cheaper because that like they're almost pushing it as far as they can. The Tibron was the next step. Well, we just changed the outside and changed the heart of, heaps of people brought it.
Yeah.
So they're just pushing it as far as they can to see what they get away with.
Yeah.
And unless we put our foot down and say no,
more and more people are starting to. I think they're definitely starting to toe the line a lot more, and I seriously hope that they can find the right path through it all. X, thank you so much for joining me for this talk, dude. Good Lord. The comments are going to be so much fun to read for this one. I appreciate you guys all for watching.
I always get yelled at in the comments. Sorry, I'm used to it.
Yeah, dude, that's why you go on YouTube, to get yelled at. That's good stuff. You go in comments to yell at other people. That's like why the comments are there, right? That's what I do.
Look, look. If you want to call me stupid, but tell me why I'm stupid. Give me critical feedback. You can't just go, "This guy's a dickhead." I want to know why I'm a dickhead, right? I want to, explain it to me, right? That I have no problem with. But when you just say you're a dickhead and leave it at that, that just doesn't help.
11-point font, everyone. MLA format, 600 words at least, please.
Thank you. No. Just.
Appreciate feedback.
Tell me why. Yeah, tell me why I think I'm wrong. Basically,
you want to tell folks where they can find more of your content?
Just on Infrunners on YouTube or Twitch. Yeah, we talk a lot about ships. You'll find Space Tomato will come over every once in a while, and Astropub, and a lot of other creators like Grim and stuff like that. But yeah, we talk a lot of ships. So yeah.
Awesome, dude. Well, thank you so much again for joining me. And folks, thank you for watching or listening. If you're on YouTube, I appreciate you. If you want to get the audio podcast, it's available on all the platforms, Apple, Google, Pocket Casts, the stuff. Put it on for a nice commute or something. I appreciate it. And if you have other friends who are listening to Star Citizen stuff, interested in getting the weekly news, discussions, a little bit of evergreen discussion about what's actually going on with Star Citizen, you can find us on any platform. Share it to them. Maybe they'll like it. And yeah, thanks guys for listening to us go on rants and diatribes about ships of the last hour. I hope you enjoyed. See y'all on the next one next week. Cheerio. What is cheerio?